Okay. Hello. We are starting. So, when last we left our fateful adventurers, the Left Stars were waiting for Aesop to complete his research trip as he uncovered the mysteries of the blue harlequin flower that ancient elves had used to see visions of the past. Um, while waiting, the party did some shopping, or attempted to from Drada's perspective, and visited the office building of the Ventus Guild Federation, meeting with an Acrocra, I don't even know how to say it ever, named Sirach Antonius. Much was discussed, and as the party kind of considers applying for what I believe I heard was sort of like a freelance adventurers guild situation. Um, you guys tabled the idea in the interest of more pressing things. Um, Meeting back with Aesop and resting for the night in his family home, you all confirmed the existence of the blue harlequin flower within the city next morning, and set out in various disguises to approach Francis, Alua's contact. Um, be it in the delivery of the passcodes or the dice rolls that followed, things got a little awkward, and you made your retreat, hoping that Francis would follow. And that's sort of where we left off. So, first things first is some logistics. Just sort of talking about the travel distance from when you all disguised. Several people cast Disguise Self. We had to pass without a trace as well. From the point that you had exited the gates and were able to find Francis, it has been, and the conversation that followed, I would say it's been about 40 minutes. Because there was some investigation happening. It's not that far, but you had to sort of figure out your approach. So if you are heading to not the Guilty Lady, that's a different town. The Elegant Rapier. You and your party know that your spells will wear off before you arrive. So I will plant that seed with the assumption that folks will recast things on the way there, but catching up. Sorry, I feel like I'm going to catch up on what's happening. Like, Flint and Clax are in the lead, followed by who you think to be Francis, followed by two of Francis's men, who are also then followed by Aesop and Drada. But the issue is that there's a information chain. The people in the front don't know who's following them, and the people in the back don't know what happened. So I want to start with Mouse.
I was going to say, where is Mouse in all this?
Yeah, Mouse is a little bit in the middle, I feel like, because you did that distraction play for Francis when people were questioning what the deal was. And so you're probably closest to the action. So what are you doing as you notice Francis leave, and then you notice two additional people sort of trailing?
I think because Wild Shape lasts up to 3 hours now. I will trail the trailers.
Okay. You have probably the most information because you were close enough to hear everything. So is there anything you're particularly looking to do as you follow?
That's a fair point. I would follow a bit. I know where this inn tavern we're headed to is, right? I've been there.
You've not been there. Clax is the only person who knows where it is.
Isn't that where she met that
random dude?
Sorry, you met that random dude on the edge, not at the Elegant Rapier.
I understand.
The neighborhood, yeah.
I wouldn't be there. I would trail for a little bit to make sure that no one joins the trailers. And then probably at that point, just have to keep trailing because I won't know where I'm going to catch up with everyone else.
Okay. I'll go ahead and give you a perception check as the cat. I should say everybody except the front of the line, which is Clax and Flint, is being somewhat stealthy in their intent to follow. So as a result, they're moving a little bit slower than Clax and Flint are. With a 22, before I tell you what you see on a 22, I want to check in with Drada. What is your approach to what you know in the moment?
So, from my understanding, we see a conversation happen that ends with party members leaving, then hesitantly followed by the man who I presume is it's a single man that we want to be talking to, and then two other people following him. That's the order of operations.
Yeah, give me an insight check. I'll also roll one for our friend. Okay, you have a better ping on this than Aesop does, but in addition to everything you just said, you could smell the tension in the air, and
Right.
you sort of witnessed Mouse as a cat interrupt the tension long enough to sort of dispel it. But when you were watching people following people, there's a stalking nature about it.
Yeah, Drada isn't not familiar with stalking. I don't know, a gloom stalker subclass, one could say. But I think noticing the tension, I think Drada's insight, and I think something Aesop would probably be game for, would be trying to keep party members who might not know about the two additional followers safe. So focusing on the stragglers, who are going after our main man. And if along the way I happen to notice a cat, that'd be real nice to see if information gets disseminated at all.
And that's one of the reasons why I took a pause on Mouse. I was wondering how stealthy your approach is. Like, how easy is it for Mouse to see you?
I think it's probably hard for Mouse to see us. I think if I see Mouse, I would be happy to drop stealth for a moment, to try to beckon Mouse over or try to see if there's any way to communicate.
Because I'm catting, I'm not really stealthing because I just assume no one's going to think too much about a cat.
You know, if you're a cat that follows people for 40 minutes, then maybe, but in the short term, yes. Okay, well, I would say with Drada taking the opportunity to make themselves known, would eventually be able to be spotted with a 22 by Mouse.
I will mouse on over to Drada.
And I will stare intently at this cat and just go, what the fuck is going on? What the fuck is going on?
I will drop form.
Before you necessarily drop form, Aesop says, should I run fast and catch up with these people? Like, catch up with Flint
How far behind are we?
I would say you're probably like 10 minutes at a walking pace behind them.
Okay.
Like, if you start, you do know that Aesop can go fast when he wants to. Well, in short bursts. Oh, well, yeah. Sorry, I'm looking at his character sheet. He says, "I can get in front of them with a new spell I got. If there's something I should report to them."
Yeah, methinks that's not a bad idea.
And I said I was interrupting before you dropped wild shape form in case he wanted to maintain it. But he sort of, Aesop looks down at you and just sort of like, what do you think?
I nod, purr, and like slink around his leg to show this is the right thing to do.
I imagine he blushes a little bit. He says, all right, I'll see you back there. And by expending his dimension door, not knowing if that's what he would do, but doing my best, you all
In
see.
theory, take someone with him. I don't know if that is a thing that makes sense or not. But.
In theory. I guess he would. Yeah. Okay. Art is smarter at his character than I am. He would say, "Does somebody want to come with, or do you want to keep following?"
I think I'd look to Mouse. I'm more than happy to. I have confidence in my own abilities to pick up the pace and get closer to them while still remaining unseen or not noticed.
I will climb into Aesop's like pocket.
Okay.
I imagine it's like a purse pocket, like big.
Yeah. He just sort of like says, "You good, Drada?"
What a great question. Good as I'll ever be. Have fun. Use the new spell.
He will first touch you on the shoulder and give you enhanceability. Cat's Grace, so you have advantage on dexterity checks. And then he says, all right. And you feel... I'm going to allow him the opportunity to someday describe the visuals of Dimension Door, but you feel almost like you're being vacuumed into a space and shunted out of it, Mouse, and suddenly you're just like in a different alleyway. And he sort of like lets you down onto the ground and says, let's see if we can catch up.
I'm much faster as a cat than I am as a mouse, so...
I mean, are you leaving him behind?
No, I'm just saying that I can keep up.
Yeah. It only takes him 500 feet further, but it is enough to sort of evade the two teams who are stealthing up. So now you guys find yourself going between alleys, knowing that you have distance on the people who are tailing Clax and Flint, but still probably a few minutes from catching up. And then Drada, you're continuing your pursuit, or is there anything in particular you're doing?
Yeah, I sure am continuing my pursuit. And yeah, now that... I mean, I don't think mechanically it makes a huge difference, but I think now that I'm not... Aesop is by no means a burden. Aesop's a delight. But there's no longer a large minotaur that I have to try to keep hidden.
Or a disguised tiefling.
Yeah.
But yes.
Yes, disguised tiefling. I'm so sorry. So I think Drada would feel like, okay, I can pick up the pace and try to get within a bit closer. I don't think I want to be within 10 minutes. I think I want to be like the alleyway over, or a block or two behind.
Yeah, if something happens, you want to see it. Or
yes.
Be in range of it. Okay. Can you just roll me stealth with advantage?
Pleasure.
Hey, there you go. And can I ask, just to clarify, between Francis and the two people tailing Francis, who are you trying to be there's a few minutes between them. Are you trying to be in the back of the
Among
line or
the
the middle
people
of the line?
tailing,
I believe Jacob is cut out.
I'm on the back.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello, you're back. Okay.
I'm on the back.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, with the 29, no problem. But let's come back
Excuse
to
you, it's a 39? How dare you?
Oh, yes, 39. Pass without a trace. Apologies. Um, Clax and Flint. Clax, you know where to lead them. But tell me how you're doing, like what you guys are talking about on the way, or what your approach is to this.
So I know I've got like 20 minutes on my disguise? 10 minutes?
Somewhere in that range. And it's probably like 30 minutes before you get to your destination.
I think just carry on a normal conversation, talk about how, can't find good stuff in the city anymore. Just, used to be able, you could find tradesmen, make deals, you could work out stuff with people, and, just trying to be loud and, draw attention. Then occasionally over my, if I get a chance, like, to inconspicuously look behind me, see if I notice anybody's behind me. Because I don't know how good this guy is or anything, so.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead and roll perception check.
Okay.
Might also stop and like loudly try to buy vapor from someone in such a way that like clearly they'd never sell to me, like a high schooler trying to buy drugs the very first time, just very blatantly like, hey, do you have any vapor?
Perhaps that's what throws Clax's perception off, because even if this isn't a very well policed area, you know that you shouldn't be just shouting that out.
So if it's after his attempt, I'll just kind of say, I don't know if the guy's following, but let's just kind of keep to ourselves and see if we can't find the party here in a little bit.
Okay.
And then, so forgive me, when we left, did we walk towards the direction of the elegant rapier?
I assume so. You're
Okay,
leading
good.
the way at the moment.
Well, I just want to make sure, like, we didn't like walk past them and have to like loop around.
Yeah,
Okay.
You're going in the you turn tail.
Okay. So just kind of meander, kind of take our way through it, and then whenever, every once in a while, just kind of lean over Flint and be like, probably wasn't the best idea for the two of us to go because we have no way to communicate with anybody else.
That's fine. We got this. Like, I've done this kind of stuff plenty in the past. And at some point I will try to like find an alleyway or something right around the time when this guy's self is going to go away, and I'll recast it as much as I
I'd say
don't want to spend this.
when you pull up into an alleyway, that's when you spot Aesop and a cat trailing his feet.
Oh.
Hey. What's going on?
I think we're gonna meet Francis at the Elegant Rapier.
Is that... Are you no longer a cat?
Oh, yes, I dropped my cat form because I sort of figured that I was needing to talk here.
Good.
Yeah, Francis is coming, but he's being followed by two more baddies, and Drada's back behind us.
So you said two more like two of the guys he's with, or two other people that came out of the shadows? Like what do you mean?
I think they were two guys that came out of the shadows, right?
It was two of the people who were sort of
In the group.
Yeah, running that group. It was a group of like 5 or so people, and Francis left, and then 2 more left.
I guess I didn't see it, so I'm not sure who I'm asking this question for, but like, I feel like when you described it, we got the impression that they were like sketchy on Francis. Like they were following Francis and making sure he wasn't up to something. I think
That would probably be what Mouse would suspect. Yes.
Okay.
So you said so. Just for clarification, RP wise, so Mouse, did they come out of shadows, or were the guys standing around the circle with him?
We were in that group.
Well, that's not good. It means that they might already suspect something's up.
how do we keep his cover? Like, I mean, if we just go to the Elegant Rapier and he does follow us, and he gets there first, we can let him know he was being followed and get him out of there, or tell him to get out of there, or something.
I like that.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Are
Mouse.
there any small birds around?
Make a perception check.
I like that this is quickly becoming my go-to spell.
Just skywrites. Hey, Francis, you're being followed.
So I might have also pressed Skywrite because I've been wanting to cast that too. Right.
I'm going to say with an 11, the answer is actually no, and the reason is this area of town does not really have like as much vegetation, and it's much more of like a wasteland than the main parts of the city. So in this moment, you actually cannot find a critter of any kind with an 11.
What even is this place?
Well, if I may, I think Flint and I continue on down like we were. Get to the Elegant Rapier. He comes in. We immediately tell him, and have him either bail out the back or we bail out the back. And based on what he feels, because then that way he could either say, "Oh, they weren't here. I don't know what that was all about," or anything else. Or if he bails, we can just be there when the guys show up. There's no whatever, and we could just put up the whole act that damn guy never showed. Just drink away our problems.
Can I ask for clarity? Is this a walk and talk conversation, or did you guys pause in the alleyway?
I think pausing briefly just to kind of sort this out so we don't come out of an alleyway with 4 people.
But okay, so we'll go to the Elegant Rapier, sit down like we're just having drinks. As soon as he gets there, we'll let him know quickly, hey, you're being followed. Do whatever you would do if you had actually been coming to investigate us. And meet us somewhere? Or
see if he can get us another date and time and go from there.
Or yeah,
but he's probably getting on us at this point, so I don't want to wait in the alleyway too long. Are you guys good with that? And are you good with getting with Drada?
We can relay that. Before you go, I'm going to cast Enhance Ability on Flint.
Good choice.
And give you... What do I think you need?
To say, do either of us have
Splendor,
any...
Which is the Charisma one.
Charisma.
I will give you the Charisma one.
I don't think either of us have any pluses in any charisma skills.
Nope. But, alright, let's roll.
Where do you want Aesop in this? Is he sort of like hanging back because he's not part of the of Team Flint, Clax? Who?
Well, that's why I was asking, like those two, Mouse and Aesop, to kind of loop back up or let Drada know what's going on. Or
I figured we were hanging back to keep a very keen eye out for Drada, knowing that they're probably stealthing forward, so that we can play telephone.
Okay. Very good. So you all continue. Clax and Flint coming back. This would be the time to re-up your disguise if you haven't already.
Yeah, I went ahead and burned the spell slot for it.
Let me...
I just have that cloak that just makes me look like a fatter.
Let me bring out Mouse's actual token again. Eventually, you all
Actually,
go ahead.
Just for fun, 'cause I'm really not sure on this Lady Vaughn person and all her capabilities and contacts and whatever. When I go ahead and cast Disguise Self, I'm going to cast See Invisibility, which also lasts for an hour. Just in case.
Could you put that in the chat? Okay.
Well, let me make sure that, because Disguise Self isn't concentration, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, neither is See Invisibility.
You all enter. Well, See Invisibility is not. The two of you enter the Elegant Rapier Clacks. You have not been here during the daytime before. And yet it is surprisingly very similar. Lowly attended, but at this time of day, instead of people sort of like sipping on their own drinks, what you instead see is like, somebody passed out on one table, or people were having a late start to their day.
Gonna see if I can. Oh, go finish. I'm sorry.
No. I was going to ask you.
Just see if we can find a relatively good perch to post up on, and actually, it may be right out in the open at the bar, so we can see anybody coming in. Because in theory, who we suspect to be Francis should be the next one through the door. In theory.
Okay. I'm watching this feng shui YouTuber who talks about everything being in the quote-unquote command position to be able to see the door. And that's the first thing that came to mind. Anyway.
I love this man and his Instagram reels. They bring me such joy.
It's going to help me when my partner and I move, I can tell you that. Anyway, you all find the table that sort of best suits, and the bartender kind of like gives you a squinty-eyed look and just sort of says, beer,
and put 2 gold down for the beer, and anybody asks after we leave, we weren't here, and anybody we talk to, you know nothing about
it. Make a persuasion check with advantage.
Okay.
It's not hard to convince somebody with 2 gold in this neighborhood.
Yeah, I was kind of debating about how much do I throw down. I'm like, I think I can get away with 2. Okay, and then advantage.
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
solid.
He sort of looks around to make sure nobody else is paying attention, between what little patrons there are, but he feels pretty comfortable, sort of just like slides them into his pocket and nods and says, I'll get some drinks.
Thank you very much.
I think when you do that, like, you just say, like, and we were never here.
No. You can tell I'm not very good at the subterfuge stuff.
I mean, you were a cop or guard or whatever.
Whatever works. It's a lot easier just to punch people, to be honest.
That sounds like most guards I knew.
And you guys post up. Drinks are given to you. You expect, based on the conversation with Mouse and Aesop, that being as that they were moving stealthy and you weren't, that you probably have 15 or so minutes before anybody could possibly get here in time without chasing you. So Let's move back to Drada. You sort of are following the folks in the back. How close are you getting? Is this strictly eyes on them, or?
I think the closer we get to the actual establishment, I do want to see if I can ever get in ear. Like, if I can see them, they're talking. Like, I would want to try to get in earshot and give a listen.
Okay. I would say, sort of like in the middle of the journey, you sort of see them come together for some hushed whispers, and this is sort of the moment that you realize, like, I'm a little too far away to discern this. Your previous natural 20 makes it no problem to continue stealthing up on them, but as you try to close the gap, go ahead and roll me a perception check just to sort of pick up what they're saying from a medium distance. Okay. This is the destination is still not in sight as in this particular moment. But you hear just sort of like a brief conversation. Some of it is like, do you see anything? No, but we know where they're going. But then it sort of escalates to one of the two humans sort of says, "You trust him?" And then the other one just sort of says, "I don't know, something's off. I don't know if he's in on it, but..." And then they kind of just sort of... They reaffirm their march forward, but it's very obvious to you that they aren't quite sure about Francis at the moment.
Great. That's obvious that they're unsure. Not obvious that they're going in with directly hostile intent.
I would say that you, with the perception 14, that their stealth methods, which are kind of rudimentary compared to yours, that one of them is holding a knife and the other is holding a light crossbow.
Oh, great. Love that. Okay.
It's not assassination vibes. It's like, we should be ready vibes.
Great. Love that. To match there, we should be ready vibes. I think my intention will be as soon as like I can see like any like if the elegant rapier has a sign or any indication that like we are nearing a destination, if I see them slowing down, I think I would probably drop disguise self and cast Hunter's Mark on the crossbow user.
Okay. Not quite. Before any of that happens, I will say that for simplicity, you are able to... I imagine that sort of these alleys that people have been traversing, people on the left stars have been traversing is sort of like one side of the road. And so as you follow down that side of the road, you do inevitably run again into Mouse and Aesop. Anywhere before you're near the elegant rapier.
Great. Hey. Do they say me?
No, I would say no.
Like, hey. Cool. Because you can't resist it. Fully sneak up behind them and then put a nice hand on the shoulder of Aesop and be like, hey, how's it going? So they have weapons.
Okay.
Yeah. They're very... I didn't hear a lot of the conversation. Very much overheard. Not super trusting of Francis. They might know something's up, but they don't know what. They're wondering if someone's actually in on the deal at all. Also, yeah, one has a knife ready and one has a crossbow ready. Not like preemptive, I'm a murk you, but like they're ready for shit to go down if shit goes down, kind of vibes.
What should we do about it? Do you think we should follow and go inside, or take them out
What
here?
Part of me, I don't know. I think me, like 3 weeks ago, would just preemptively have fired a warning shot or two. But I've since been told that preemptive, unprovoked violence is bad. Looking at Mouse, I say like I say that not sarcastically. Like we're learning lessons. It's great. So part of me does not want to take them out in advance, but I also don't want to be too reactionary.
Well, I wasn't saying like kill them. I just meant like entangle them.
Okay, that's so fair.
Aesop pipes in just to say, well, we just have to make sure whatever we do doesn't raise the alarms. Like, ideally this all goes by and they see it as a misunderstanding. But if they start getting shot at, that might be a problem.
Yeah, maybe we just do a nice entanglement prep. Maybe we go in ready to, if they're prepared, we be prepared as them. I don't know if there's any way we can communicate things to our friends in the tavern. Or I presume closer to the tavern. That'd be great, but doesn't. Yeah, I feel like, as you said, Aesop, like, ideally, this is just a miscommunication. Nothing further has to happen. They don't even need to know we were here.
Guess that makes sense. We'll be prepared.
So we keep following and see what happens?
Keep following and see what happens.
What happens?
All right.
Make some spells, kids.
I'm gonna have Mouse and Aesop join the stealth check. We're not gonna have Draw to re-roll this.
Y'all still get +10.
That looks like a 19 on my screen. But it wasn't.
No.
Okay, I mean a 15 and a 21 are not bad. They're no 39, but so what kind of pace are you guys going at? Because it's sort of like you recognize that you are sort of in the back line right now. So are you trying to get closer up to the front, or?
I think my instinct would be, knowing that they have weapons at the ready, that we should make some haste and get closer to them than a 10-minute closing the distance.
Okay. I think with the total rolls of the party, that is a reasonable thing to accomplish. So you take a stealth break for a good 5 minutes and go on a jog alongside the sort of outer lanes of the edge before you feel like you have a comfortable lead. Well, actually, somebody, I would say, roll me an investigation check to kind of pick up Francis's lead, or to pick up Francis's trail, so that you can get in front of him.
Could we do survival because it's tracking?
Sure. We get there.
It's still not good.
I'd say this is an opportunity for a help action to be used.
Help away.
If you would like advantage on that, Mouse. Well, you're doing your best.
My rolls are great tonight.
It's this environment. You don't know what tracking is on these like broken cobblestone
The birds
streets.
are gone and everything's at flag.
I will say, when you're finally able to pick up Francis's trail, the way that you're able to achieve that is because you see Francis entering the elegant rapier. But that doesn't happen yet. We're going to go back to the elegant rapier and talk about what that looks like from their perspective first. So, not suggesting that there will be a battle, but I prepared a map on the off chance. So we're going to just transition to that map really quickly. Oh, that's a shame. I need to do something for the observer's point of view. However, I think everybody should have a token on this map at the moment. Those of you who are outside are not necessarily there. You'll probably be around here by the time you see Francis popping open the door. But Flint and Clax, as you are sort of settling in to Clax, if you weren't on business right now, you'd probably be settling into your third drink. But given that I assume you're trying to focus up.
Yeah, just nursing, probably even one mouthful's gone from the beer I have. It's really just fitting in by having an alcoholic beverage in front of me.
Mm-hmm. You first hear the door open, and as sort of expected, you see the figure who you had sort of loosely imagined or loosely guessed to be Francis sort of poking his head in. You all being in a sort of central position are able to sort of see him immediately.
Are there other doors before he comes in the door? Are there other doors out of this place, or is that the only door in and out?
That's the only door that you are aware of.
Okay. All right. Then actually, I guess there's patrons around, so if seeing him come in, I'll see if I can't signal him and kind of, make it look a little more like urgent, like get your ass over here kind of situation.
Roll an insight check for me, and I'd say Flint can join this as well.
Nope.
There it is. Jeez. We're the worst.
Team awesome.
We're the worst.
It's like, I think at the beginning of last game, you guys are just rolling 20s, and now
we were. The standard, the deviations coming back to bring everything back in line.
There, with those rolls, I'm not going to reveal any new information, but there is sort of a pause as he closes the door behind him and comes up to the table, probably more around here. He's not like in a sitting down stance at the moment. And he says, "The fuck was that?"
You were followed. We need to make a decision now. Do you want to jet out the back, or do you want us to jet out the back? And where do we meet up again later? But we need to talk.
He immediately... Was that a table whisper? I'm just sort of clarifying.
Yeah, like if I need to get a little bit closer, I'm not going to broadcast across the end. So if I need to get up, I'll leave my beer, slowly approach
No.
and get close to.
You're good. I was just DM interpreting, but you see, he as soon as you start talking, he just sort of starts to look around at the other patrons, who you have confidence are not not paying attention or conscious necessarily. But he says, "What do you mean?"
You were followed. 2 of the guys from your group followed you.
Jesus.
You need to do whatever you would do if this wasn't like, a thing. Go sit somewhere else. We'll reconvene somehow. Is there somewhere we can meet you later?
Not if they're following me. Shit. Just. I'll figure it out. He turns around and starts walking out.
I don't know.
From the perspective of, I would say, Team Stealth, you see the figure of Francis walk in, and if you guys could actually roll me an insight check of your own as you're sort of eyeing him from a distance.
Oh, that was almost an 18.
Jesus.
Useless.
At least you guys have high wisdom, unlike the inside team. So it's salvageable. You see, even just from a distance, the sort of like oh shit sigh on this individual's face, and he tries to limber up in a way that is sort of like trying to project confidence in himself. And you see him assume a stealthed position. He very intentionally closes the door behind him, and he assumes a stealth position, kind of like, I'm trying to think, probably he's looking for somewhere to sort of hide from the door. I don't have trees on this map, but I'm just going to say that there's a tree somewhere over here that he's trying to hide behind to maintain vision on the door. But you can also tell that his means of stealth are not very advanced. He is sort of like a person standing behind a tree in this moment.
Yeah, that guy wasn't very good at acting casual.
No, it's going to be very interesting. So what's arc play when the guys show up?
I mean, I think we just sit here and act like drunk hooligans. Like, we were here to get drugs, now we're here to get drunk.
All right.
I think we just hang out for a while and then leave.
Okay. Now, if they come in and question us, what's our story?
We're boat inspectors. It's a joke from a different campaign. No, I don't know. We're just 2 dudes down on our luck. We're trying to get some drugs and have a good time. I don't know.
We heard from Billert up in the factory. Or sorry, give me 1 second. I had this in my head a second ago, and I just closed out of it. Wonderful.
Look, let's see, because I don't want you to have a lengthy conversation while the other team's just twiddling their thumbs outside. So what is stealth team doing as you first see Francis attempt to hide behind a tree near the door?
I think Gerada's first instinct is just judge and be like, "Oh, honey, no, bend your back like that. Like you can get a little lower. Okay, this will. Okay, are we now? This man seems concerned and in hiding. Are we now on preemptive the entangled territory?"
I think maybe we just try to help him.
Should
But
I
it won't
just
be
like?
weird if I walked over to him right now.
I mean, there was somewhere in my mind that's like, I mean, I'm more than happy to get within 30 feet of him, and then lo and behold, his stealth, like, I can help hide him a little better.
Let's do that at least for now. At least until the trailers make their way here.
Aesop says I'll keep an eye out for the others.
Way to show that initiative, buddy.
So
Yeah, I think
you
I
all
would
try
try
to
to
approach
get-
Francis?
I'm not trying to approach Francis. I'm trying to get near enough Francis that I can tell I'm aiding him with Pass Without Trace, but he does not know I am there. That means getting on the roof of a building, if that means finding an alleyway, like, if that means just a random passerby who's like pretending to smoke on the wall a bit away, that's fine.
I don't want to rules lawyer too much, but it's sort of like Pass Without Trace is you and your companions, and I don't know that
that's
he
fair.
knows that he's a companion.
How much time do we think we have before? Like, how much further behind do we think that
Probably just a few minutes.
this lasts? And does Francis look like he's trying to get away or just gonna hide behind this tree until...
Roll me an additional insight check. Just you in this case.
What's this?
Okay.
Hey!
Okay. I would say the impression you get is that he's trying to establish a cover. Like he's trying to look like he is being stealthy, perhaps so that he can spy, quote unquote, spy on Clax and Flint. Maybe he's expecting to be spotted by his friends, and he's trying to, like, you see him kind of looking. The way you're able to tell this is he's sort of like looking out towards the road where he, one way or the other, he's learned that he's being followed, and so he seems to be like putting himself forward, but also trying to pretend to be stealthy.
Drada, it's okay, we can go. He's not trying to be good at this.
Love that for okay. Respect for this man slightly higher.
Yeah, he's better at pretending to hide than hiding.
That's a skill set. Okay, so what's our plan then? Are we trying to hide just in case shit goes down? Like, are we heading inside to regroup with people?
I think we should keep from being all seen together as much as possible. So I think we just kind of hide around the corner, keep an ear out, be within running distance should something go down. But I think we're just on patrol a bit.
That works for me.
We will hide and look.
Okay.
Hide and work. And yeah, as soon as crossbow user comes back into area, like disguise self is dropped and hunter's mark does go up.
Okay. Not quite yet. For the purposes of awareness, I'm drawing like a little rough path on what you would expect their approach to look like. So go ahead and please feel free to position yourselves where you would like to be. There's a few like dead trees over here. Of course, you could stay in the corner of the building.
Are these windows?
Yes,
Like,
you should be able to see inside, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that was accurate. I'm really slow, so if something happens inside...
I'm just gonna put Aesop around the corner of the building.
There are not plants. Everything's gross here, right?
Yeah, there's a few dead trees, but that's the most you're getting.
Then
Can I roof it? How tall's the building?
It's just 10 feet up.
I'll roof it.
Okay. Pulling a Drata, as they say. Hold on. Oh, the windows are behaving strangely.
Actually,
I will try to fix your perspective at some point, Drata. But before anybody arrives, I want to make sure to come back into the room momentarily. Flint and Clax, any updates?
Just if we get questioned, Bill Prop the gnome, who's part of Dustbrow's group, when Dustbrow got nabbed by the cops, and we couldn't get the vapor easily anymore, he sent us over to Francis. So if they come in, they question us, that's our alibi.
Bill what the gnome?
Bill Prap. Bilprap. Just mash letters together. Run with it.
Bill Prop the gnome.
Who's
Used to be who we got vapor from, and
yeah, we used to get vapor from him, and he was part of Duskbrow's group. But Duskbrow being thrown in jail, this part is true. Made it harder for us to get vapor, so that's why we're down here looking, because we heard from Bill Prap that this guy Francis could hook us up.
What, do we hear Francis or just that group?
Well, we specifically asked for Francis at the when we did it.
Did we? All right.
Right? Somebody refresh my memory. Pretty sure we asked for Francis. So
yeah, I think it said something along the lines of like, is any of you Francis, or do you know where Francis is, or something like that?
Okay.
So that way, if they come in and question us, we gotta thing and be like, well, if you guys aren't Francis, but you can sell it to us, we're here.
All right, sure. Go prep the gnome. Duskbrow. Got it.
Back to team outside. Drata, you discover two shapes sort of appearing from the corner of a building that's sort of slightly down the road. You drop disguise self and assume the hunter's mark on one of them. This is now sort of no longer pass without a trace atmosphere, so I kind of want to ask for stealth checks from the folks outside again. Just, it's not necessarily high DC, and just sort of checking in. Okay. Drata, you hear the shifting of your allies.
I'm just like, God damn it, just stand still. Okay.
Mouse is like trying to position herself in the best angle behind the stump, but like just keeps moving. Just shifting. No, I can get smaller.
And these figures, they seem to be looking around, and what is I would say Mouse as being the closest to them as they're coming off the road, and with a roll of a 10. What is the demeanor that you're presenting? Being visible is not a crime, but nonetheless.
I think Mouse, in her truest form, would not actually look that strange trying to like investigate a tree stump. So maybe she's just like turning over rocks looking for roly-polies at the same time.
Okay. Give me deception. Okay, it's not high, but I think your description sort of bumps it up a bit because I think that's accurate.
I do have twigs in my hair.
Yeah. And these are people who probably walk past others who are hallucinating all the time. So you could just be another straggler. They sort of, Drada, you see them sort of pass their eyes over Mouse and just sort of like move on. They don't catch you at all. Aesop, I think, is making Aesop is probably making a little bit of noise behind the house, but is not really in eyesight, so they don't really think about him too much. And then they sort of like take a position that both acknowledges Francis, and they're sort of like their eyes are ping-ponging between Francis and the door. There's sort of like a they're kind of eyeing each other with the two people are seeming to eye Francis with suspicion from afar. Do you do anything in this moment?
I mean, if they're just eyeing him, I don't think I'm doing anything.
Okay.
I think I have a crossbow loaded, and like ready to go. Like the moment anything shifty happens, like an entangle's going down, a shot's getting fired, something's gonna happen, but I'm not preemptively doing anything.
Okay. They eventually start to meander over towards Francis. In this sort of exacting layout that we have here on the map, they would escape your point of view, but does Drada sort of like just sort of edge along the roof and try to get closer?
Very much so. I think so, and I think I would gesture to the folks on the ground if they go out of their line of sight to like Disney Channel original movie, like behind, aside from the corner of that building, looking at towards what's happening.
Okay, so you start to inch forward. You give some hand signals to folks to do the same. I'll put you about like right here for now. Clax and Flint, roll me a perception check. Okay. No. I was
worth a shot.
I was asking myself, would you hear Drada's tip taps on the roof? But Drada's stealth is good enough to avoid noise, not just being seen. But Drada, you sort of inch closer, and there's sort of like a similar hushed whispers conversation to that which you were listening into earlier. Sort of on the surface, nobody is holding up a weapon in anybody's face. This is a without having to make any rolls, it's very clearly a what the fuck is going on conversation.
Love that. Love a what the fuck is going on conversation. I think I'm still not acting unless things turn for the worse.
Okay. Let's see how it goes.
Love that.
Things seem to calm slightly as they all three of them turn their eyes towards the elegant rapier sort of together. And there is sort of a conversation, like you see Francis sort of Well, go and roll me a perception check as you're trying to listen in, perhaps at this point. Okay. Visibly, you see Francis seem to regain some confidence as he sort of says, I'll take it from here. You guys got to get back. And they kind of like, they still have a little bit of suspicion about the situation as they eye him, but you see them nod almost in deference. I will just like reveal that roll from earlier. And they sort of say, all right, if you think all is good. And they trundle back in the direction they came.
I'm not leaving this. I'm watching them walk away. I am making sure that wasn't a posturing.
You staying stationary, you observe Francis staying stationary as well. And he has a similar look to you in trying to perhaps wait until they are out of eyesight or out of line of sight. He is very much tracking these two individuals before he makes any kind of moves. And it's sort of, as you notice that they turn around in one of the buildings, and you look back towards Francis, he's still waiting another minute. But seems to have regained his composure. And eventually he, after 2 minutes, 3 minutes, you see he kind of like resumes his cover almost just in case. But after a comfortable amount of time has passed, an amount of time that you would find comfortable in your own sort of stealth knowledge, you see he eventually like checks. He does like kind of do a check on the dagger in his sheath, and he kind of like, just kind of gives it an inspection, shoves it back in, and then heads to go into the elegant rapier again.
I love that for him. I love this for all of us. I am breathing, letting a small sigh of relief out. I think part of me is, I don't think I'm following him inside. I think I'm staying posted, probably for the duration of the conversation that's to follow, unless I hear some ruckus from inside, so if things go wrong. But just making sure that his peace is kept.
Okay. Clax and Flint, you see, you hear the door open once again. It's the first time it's opened since Francis left, maybe about 15 minutes ago. For logistics' sake, everybody's disguises still have a good comfortable half hour or so on them at this point. And you see Francis sort of step back into the room, kind of like straighten his clothing, like his tunic was a little out of position, and he sort of like straightens it a bit and walks confidently towards your guys' table.
Gesture for him to join us.
He sits down, sort of with still a little bit of an air of unease about him, and says, "Appreciate the warning, but really, what the hell? You could have been a little bit more subtle."
No, we couldn't have.
I literally just laugh. I'm like, sorry, this is not our game.
And who are you?
I'm Clax. Reach out a big claw.
I'm Bill. I mean, Flint.
He eyes your hand before sort of like daintily shaking it. This is not he's not totally comfortable in front of you yet, but he will shake your hand. And then sort of nods to Flint and says, and
Mutual friend of ours said we should talk to you about getting a blue harlequin flower. I'm assuming at this point, basically nobody in here is paying attention to us and/or is passed out or something.
You've picked up over the time that you've been here that perhaps the gold that Klax dropped on this guy, some of it has been spent to ply people back to sleep with more alcohol. Like he's been handing out freebies to anybody who wakes up. Just to keep things on the down low. However, he is fully awake, sort of standing behind the bar, polishing it. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, I imagine we're not speaking loudly.
And I'll again gesture to sit down so we can.
Oh, he's sitting.
Oh, okay, yeah. He's sitting then, just kind of lean forward, kind of doing the whole, hushed tones conversation. But Flint's right. You might be. We've heard you're the only guy who can help us acquire blue harlequin flower.
Right. I can make that happen. You see he's sort of doing some mental math in his head and says, this would have been a lot easier if things had gone more smoothly before. I could have gotten you in right away, but I fear if I do it right now, it will seem out of the blue.
Well, maybe next time don't pick such weird code words.
The DM's laughing. He gives you a serious face about, and it's sort of like, if you run in my circles, you gotta get creative.
Here's the deal. There's other members of our party that haven't been seen, that haven't been made yet. If we're the inconvenience, we have other people who can go in our place. And again, I'm not good at this stuff anyway, so that's fine by me.
I mean, if you want to give me an introduction, and if they can, if you want to give me an introduction, we can drop the charade and try again in a few hours.
Okay.
They can
be right back.
Sorry, it'll say they can meet me back where you met me, and we'll go from there. But yes, please, let's meet them.
So do you want to meet them now, or do you want to meet them in a couple? Okay. Be right back. So I'm gonna go out the door, because I'm assuming they're somewhere within eyesight. So I'm gonna kind of open up the door. I'm sure I have no idea where Drod is at, but kind of looking for either Mouse or Ace up.
Yeah, not hard, not difficult at all.
And then whoever I see first, just kind of indicate. Bring it in.
Okay. Drod, you see all this happen. Do you jump down and join, or what?
I do not think I do. I think I'm listening and watching, but I think it's still advantageous to have someone in the party not be made.
You make yourself known to Klax at least, or?
Yeah, I think I can, if they're heading back inside, or if I can get Klax's attention without getting the attention of Francis, then sure.
Okay. You just sort of clear your throat. Klax looks up at the roof.
You just hear a nice little burst of vocal fry from above.
I point inside, shrug.
Sure. And while they're talking, I pop down and head inside.
Okay. You all come into the inside of the Elegant Rapier. I'm just kind of positioning you guys loosely, but this figure, who you assume to be Francis at this point, says, right, so Clax here says we're going to go for another attempt at this, but we're going to skip all the frivolity of it, but we need some new faces. So if I can identify you right here and now, you tell me that you're looking for a flower, I'll pretend you're perhaps a return customer or a trusted client, and we'll evade suspicion that way.
What's the easiest number of people for you to get in?
I would not suggest more than 2. Generally, buyers are kind of the person with the money and the backup.
And how long would you say we would need different faces?
He sort of looks around, not knowing that these are disguises. He sees a dwarf, a tiefling, and I think, Drada, you're still an Air Genasi, but you're sort of disguised differently, if I remember.
I mean, I dropped this guy's self a while back.
Oh, right,
could have
right.
recast. I can say for this conversation, I'm happy to recast it.
Well, that's up to you. I don't want to force you to spend spell slots. I forgot about that.
Well, and
I think
conspicuously, I'll just very wildly gesture to the 3 of us who just entered, as we are the new faces, not we need new faces.
Well, we should ideally be in and out within an hour, probably a half hour, frankly, from the point at which we meet. I mean, do you have? Well, let's be clear. You can expect to get as unfamiliar faces to Athena. You can expect to probably be dropping 600 if she likes you, 800 if she doesn't.
Collect you sure this is worth it, right?
Well, I'm not sure of anything, but let me go. Clack starts kind of discreetly kind of turns around, like starts going through his coin pouch, seeing how much gold he has in there.
I will say that Aesop has 100 gold, although I would want to use it as a last resort for art's sake.
Yeah. Man, I can do 100 if needed.
I have 40.
40 of which one, Mouse?
Coins.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I imagine she opens her bag and you see mostly platinum in there.
All right, let's put that away for right now.
Right. So we think 600. 800 if we don't do super well.
I think Drada by no means offers his coin bag up, but also is in turning it out and displaying whatever money he has inside. But also, I think would say like, if we need a little extra, I can pitch some in.
Well, I can give 300.
Just throwing this out there, like, is there a world in which we could like steal this and not blow your cover? Like, is there a good opportunity for that?
He kind of looks at you like a little incredulously and says, it's not... At some point, given what's transpired today, I would say if anything goes wrong, it's not even about cover, it's about liability. I might just
I mean, we can shoot you while we're at it or something.
please don't, but frankly, that would be a mercy compared to the things I would expect to happen.
All right.
Said that so casually, and that's so cool. Anyways, Flint, as you were saying.
All right. So I got 100. Sounds like Mouse can probably do 2, and Clax has got 3. That's 600.
And I can go a little more. That just gives me a little bit left for, incidentals and things that come up. Actually, probably take my 2 gold
If
pieces
things
out.
go poorly, I can throw some in too.
All right. Who do we want to send in there? In theory, I can look different. Feels sort of bad sending Aesop.
Francis holds up his hand and says, "If I'm being honest, I don't trust you."
Trust me. That's fair.
I'm not making this happen with you.
I mean, I'm very trustworthy.
That is probably the most honest thing you're going to hear today.
I flick a roly-poly off my shoulder.
And I think she pulls off the crazy woods lady who wants rare flour.
Do you know how to haggle? Because it's you gotta play the part.
What is this word, haggle?
All right, so she can be the backup, but she can't be the face.
Well, your 2 remaining options are real great.
Well, it's one of those things. I'll go right ahead, Drada.
No, if you need a person, I'm not going to say that I am particularly equipped to... as cool as the thought of buying drugs is, I'm bad at talking and people and intense social interactions. Also, Aesop probably wants no part of this, so we have a really, really great set of options.
Well,
John, I think you can totally handle this, and for reasons, I do think you're the better choice.
yeah, I think 1, you look the part more than Aesop by a long shot, and 2, if something goes wrong, no offense, Aesop, but I think you can get out of a sticky situation much better than Aesop can.
Aesop's like, agreed. Also, you aren't really known within town like I am, so if something happens to my disguise, that,
Yeah, that's fair. Sure, great. I'll put sticks in my hair. Mouse will look great together.
Do I get to do your makeup?
No, go for it. As a player, I just want to remind the party that I've rolled maybe 5 or 6 persuasion checks in this campaign, and at least half of them have been 1s. So here we go, kids.
That just means you're due for a good one.
Yeah.
That's how stats work, right?
Yeah.
Just ask Dave.
Yeah.
So, I look over at Francis and draw it in Mouse.
all right, 3 hours. Take your time, get a drink, let me settle in, so that way tension can blow over a little bit. Are you guys going to be looking like you do now? Are you like magical disguises or just sort of outfit changes? Because I want to see those in advance.
Hey, Clax, can I have my coat back?
Hand it right back.
Yeah, it turns into a disheveled, kind of brown, tattery, slightly bohemian robe, and I think that's the extent of the disguise.
And now that I'm obviously clearly wearing a lot of armor and equipment, I'm just going to spend this time while we've been here eyeballing him up because I want to know my enemy.
Okay. Anything in particular that you're looking for?
I always forget this because I'm still learning it. It is.
Hey, actually, you don't. I will say he is not. He is not far above a commoner in every way. He has like a little bit of this training, like, but I would say I'll give you this information in instead of giving you sort of stats and stuff. You expect that the reason he's able to perform the way he does is because he's sort of like following directions that he's been given. This is sort of like very specialized training to blend into this group and to perform the functions of this group, but he is not a rogue per se.
Oh. All right. So Francis, anything else? Well, Drada, you're gonna look like that then. Mouse, you look like that.
Usually.
All right.
I mean, Mouse is gonna do something with this.
That's
so.
fine. I know what you look like. I'll keep an eye out for you.
Okay.
And what you got a name I should use?
Edward.
All right. Edward, my good friend who I have sold to many times before. I will see you in 3 hours.
Love that for us. Andrada tries to pitch his voice up out of the fry that it lives in perpetually. Just, yes, so excited. Mm-hmm.
He looks at Francis looks at Clax and says, make sure he practices, and then he leaves.
I don't love that I didn't realize that Drado was Edward spelled backwards until now.
Oh no.
I still didn't.
And so you have this area to yourself, feeling still confident that the room has been sufficiently applied. You've seen a couple of people kind of like wake up and then pass out again. It hasn't been a tremendously long time that you guys have been sitting down. From the moment you first sat down to when Francis left and came back, it's probably been about a half hour. At this point, the disguises that any of you are holding onto, which might just be Flint and Aesop, are starting to die off. But you have this space to yourself as best as you can tell, so you can plan as you wish.
I think at least some of this time we're going to spend teaching Mouse what money is.
And then I'm going to give Drada 27 platinum and 30 gold pieces.
I will give Drada 100 gold.
I'll just open my bag. Stay here. I
math time.
take 20 platinum.
Okay. 20 platinum plus... Clax, how many platinum again?
27 platinum and 30 gold. So it comes up to 300 gold total, but...
And I'm giving you 100 gold.
Roofie.
And how does this Mouse doing Drada's makeup scenario play out? Or has that been bypassed with the cloak being given back?
I
No,
think if
you're welcome.
nothing else, I had been, as we walked through the city, collecting unflowered buds, and I would pull one of those out and druid craft it to bloom and like tuck it behind their ear.
That's cute.
Yadrada is like, wow, this is an aesthetic. Okay, cool. No, cool. And just playing with the voice and being like, yep, I know what I'm. Yep, this is gonna be great. This is gonna be fine.
I'm also gonna like, I know talking isn't really your favorite thing, but I have something that can help with that once we are about to go inside.
I know that's magic. It sounds like you're offering me drugs, which is funny because we're about to buy drugs, and that's exciting. You are appreciated regardless.
Maybe drugs are just magic we don't understand yet.
Drugs are just the friends we haven't made along the way yet.
Drada, can you use a shield with your crossbow? Is that a thing you're able to do?
What a great question.
I don't think Drada is proficient in shields, is the problem. Oh, you are.
Really?
Just kidding, you are.
Okay.
So in theory, Drada can... I think because you have the infusion that generates ammo, Drada could light crossbow one hand, because it ignores the loading property. Or sorry,
Well, he's also got the...
hand crossbow one hand, shield in the other, in theory.
You, just in case shit goes down, want to take my shield with you?
I'm not opposed to that.
I will say, like, just because sometimes we hand wave like that it takes an action to put on a shield, in theory, and so it's like, are you going to be walking up to a meeting, sort of like shield already equipped? Is that sort of like the position that you would want to present? It's up to you.
No, I don't. I think it would be strapped to back or side.
Yeah, you could do that.
As an option, feels nice to have.
Okay, so we're spending a couple hours. Never mind. This works fine. It does require attunement, but you have time to attune to it. So it's essentially a +1 shield. So it's going to bump your AC by 3, assuming you have time to take it out and whatever. And if someone hits you, hang on. While holding it, the wielder can use a reaction immediately after being hit by melee to expend 1 charge and push an attacker up to 15 feet away. So.
Very fun.
I put it there. I'm not going to manipulate character sheets at the moment.
Yeah.
So if we need to roll for that, we'll just have Flint hit the button. Or no, you don't even need any.
Yeah, there's not a button. It just uses your reaction.
Yeah. But so we'll say that's in your inventory, but you do have to spend an action to equip it.
You went silent there towards the end.
You will have to spend an action to equip it. We'll just say it's in your inventory. So if shit does go down, just make note of that.
Oh, are shields take a full action to equip? I assumed they were kind of like a weapon or something, where it was like a...
No, shields specifically take an action to don and doff.
That's good to know.
Are we effectively taking a short rest then?
Makes sense to me. I'm seeing if Aesop has anything. Well, I guess Aesop would bring this up as like, so where should we be when this exchange is happening? Do we want to be trailing still?
I'm glad you asked that. I think since we know where they're going to meet up there, if we can be in general vicinity to keep an eye out, but far enough back, like again, even me, like I probably can't even be in eyesight. Like I'm big, loud, noisy.
Well, and least Aesop and I, they don't know. Like, heck, even Francis isn't going to know what I look like. Or Aesop for that matter. So we don't want to be obvious that we're watching a group, but we could find somewhere to hang out nearby.
Yeah, I say we trail significantly further back, and I'll drop off first, and then I'll just listen for if anything goes wrong. Mouse, do you have anything that can alert us if things go wrong?
That probably depends on how far away you are. I don't know what the best option is there.
Okay. Yeah, I think Flint's right. Like, you and Aesop have the best chance to kind of be relatively discreet and keeping an eye on things. I'm just going to stay out of it at this point because I pretty much screwed the pooch, apparently. So I will just stay back the furthest, and hopefully if something goes wrong, I will move my big lizard legs as fast as I can to get there.
We should be just fine.
Yeah. I was trying to debate if I thought like making myself invisible and trying to be in the room with you was a good idea, but I'm noisy. Like,
Aesop pipes up and says, it sounds like money talks in this instance, so maybe the best idea is to play it safe. Just do what we're told.
Sounds like a plan.
Sure does. Are we gonna need to know? And you said there's no code words this time around. It's just waltz up, and
I would go with, it's been a long time. How you been, Francis? You know the usual. Looking to buy a flower. Keep it simple. Go from there. And remember, your name's Edward.
So wait. Drada's doing the talking, and Mouse is the protection?
Right.
Apparently?
Alright.
Or his friend along. We can send Drada in solo if you want.
No, I think Drada should definitely have someone going in.
no, Cloud, shut up.
I could make myself big, but then I can't make you charismatic.
No, I think we just need to make sure you look intimidating.
Right.
Can I rearrange the sticks in your hair?
Yes.
Go in and make quasi little, not full on like devil horns with sticks, but poke the sticks out in a way to make the mouse appear larger than she is, pointier than she is.
I've told Millie this in the past. I imagine when Mouse gets in combat and is like making call lightning and whatever, gives me like very like Beatrix Lestrange vibes, like a little crazy, a little scary witch in the woods.
Yeah. That's fair. If things go wrong, I'll just call lightning.
Perfect plan.
Millie knows that won't work because you have to have an area of sky and the ceilings won't be big enough inside.
You know what? It'll all work out in the end. Well, I think this might be the best time to take a break. It's a little early, but this seems like we're about to kick off the next leg of this little adventure. So let's come back in 5-ish.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, so unless there is any further discussion you want to have, I want to move forward to the next stage of this scenario. As I understand it, Drada is the face and has been prepared to sort of look like still an Air Genasi seller, but maybe a little bit more rugged and fitting into the territory rather than sort of Drada standard makeup. And Mouse is just sort of accentuating her current disguise a little bit to fit in. And then the rest of you, I would say that Aesop would comfortably end up spending an additional spell slot on Disguise Self in order to maintain the white tiefling guys. But Clax and Flint, what are you sort of, as you're preparing to follow, are you taking any measures?
I think Flint would probably not re-up his disguise since no one's seen his normal, face or whatever. And then Clax, I'm guessing it makes sense for you to just be far away from everybody, or at least split off. So I would maybe stick with Aesop, since the two of us are kind of unknown. And then try to be close enough to Mouse and Drada that we can help if something goes wrong, but not too close that we draw attention or anything.
And Flint nailed it. I'm going to be way back, nowhere near. Maybe try and take, I don't want to call them streets, but a different path through the shanties, shantytown kind of thing of the edge. And when we get to like quarter of a mile or whatever it is where, it's really no one's going to pick me up, I'm just going to find a spot to kind of camp. If I can get to a bit of a perch on top of a building, great. Probably can't, but just want to be hopefully where close enough that if there's a loud noise or something, I can hear it, but realistically out of sight, out of mind. And really, I'm just going to keep an eye on the night sky for once it gets to be more than an hour and a half later, approximately an hour and a half later, if I haven't heard anything, then I might make some actions, but other than that, just listening.
Okay. And just so you're out of sight, out of mind, but hope like as within earshot of loud noises as you can be.
Yeah.
But just confirming, Flint, are you trying to stay in line of sight, but stealthily?
Yeah, I think we would be trying to be in line of sight. That might mean trying to, I don't know if there's like a bar or coffee shop or food stall, something that we can casually be standing around, somewhere where it would make sense for us to be standing and it wouldn't look terribly strange.
These are kind of I would say the slums of town. You're not going to find food or your options of blending in are to look the part and find a corner to sit on, probably.
That's fair. If there's like someone's like got a fire in a barrel somewhere, we might just be standing next to it warming our hands or something, or
sure. Yeah. I wouldn't say that scenario precisely, but it's just sort of like there's some like people are sort of rifling through trash or debris, and you're sort of just like in and around that area. So what I'm going to ask for, and we're doing these rolls in advance of what the front team does, just to sort of do a temperature check. But Clax, give me a perception check for the course of the next hour-ish, and then Flint and Aesop, give me a stealth check.
That was almost an 11.
So technically, I have disadvantage on stealth.
Not for this one. This is it. I would say I'm using stealth, but it's functionally a deception in the way that it's being rendered. Rolling for Aesop. Okay. You guys feel reasonably confident. You're not able to get close enough to any of this to be able to sort of hear what's being said, but you have eyes on sort of the shape of Drada and Mouse who are making the approach. Before Drada and Mouse, you sort of formally step away from the group. Aesop will sort of like clap you on the shoulder and say, "You got this," and gives you bardic inspiration.
Oh, that's the thing I said to you. I appreciate you.
Seems like a good time to also give you enhanceability.
God, stop it. Wow.
To be clear, which enhanceability is this?
Eagle Splendor.
Is that charisma?
Yes.
Okay. I always forget that there's like secondary abilities here for some of these. Anyway.
Nothing on this one.
And you guys are, I would say, presently 30 feet from the action. If you could both give me an insight check, just sort of as you're approaching, just to get a measure of what you're walking into.
Sorry.
There is no shouting. It seems like a quiet corner at the moment. That's the most you're able to get from it. How do you sort of make your approach?
I think I'm inclined just to walk up, look around, and then as soon as I see Francis, be like, "Ah, I know him," and then start strolling leisurely towards him.
I'm just there looking like I belong.
Okay. You are sort of, and this is sort of what you witnessed before as well, is that the first people to take note of who approaches seems to be these people who work with or for Francis. You're not quite sure or if they're lackeys or what, but one of them sort of taking a 5-foot lead, sort of raises her chin at you and says, "What do you need?"
Hi. What were we saying?
I say currently Francis looks like he's like, sort of like writing something in a book.
Cool. Love that. Like, hi. I think putting on the most casual demeanor Drada can. I'm here to see Francis.
Francis kind of perks up in a way that you can tell is perhaps part of the act. Like there's a curiosity in his look as he turns his head to you and says, "Ha ha, Edward, have not seen you in some time."
Oh my gosh, Francis, it's been such a long time. I hope you're well, friend.
He stands up and like kind of firmly and confidently comes up to give you like a full hug, not in a like the most manly hug possible, sort of.
Rada is deeply uncomfortable in this moment, but gives a nice, firm, single pat that might be a little mechanical, but it is reciprocated.
And he pulls back after like a half a second, and then just sort of like pats you twice on the shoulder and says, "It's been probably over a year now.
It's been a minute. How goes everything with you?"
Oh, and he sort of looks to the individuals that are sort of now observing the situation. There's four of them, two which you have sort of seen up close personal before, two which you have not, but all have the same sort of air about them. And he says, he's sort of like almost saying to the group, and says, "Y'all don't have to be so stuck up. This is a good friend of mine."
Hi.
And they sort of look suspiciously at you and then sort of down at Mouse.
I like tip my head like I'm wearing a hat, but I'm not. Just acknowledging their attention.
I go to pat your head, almost impale myself on a stick, and then move around it. Pat, pat.
Well, what brings you around? What brings you to my neck of the woods? How long have you been in town?
We just got in a couple days ago, staying with a friend of mine. I was hoping to come by your way. Looking to buy a flower, as a matter of fact.
He gives a kind of performative smile and sort of says,
It is fully reciprocated.
he says, "I have just what you need."
That makes me so happy to hear.
He looks over at the woman sort of who's sort of sitting sharpening a knife next to him and says, "Dina, hold things down for me, won't you? I'll be back in a bit." She gives him the eyes, gives you both the eyes. If you could both roll me a performance or deception. And Drada would roll this with advantage.
Let me just check my stat block real quick.
I'm gonna wheel myself.
Okay.
Yeah, but I call it beforehand.
Hell yeah.
A 25 is a nice round number. Okay. You don't have to spend it right now, but just saying, do you want to use your bardic inspiration?
I'm fine with the 15.
Okay. There's a air of like they look at Mouse and sort of just like clearly she's not in charge, so they kind of pass over her in this instance because her performance has been so like passive that they've been set at ease about her. they sort of drift their eyes over you, but ultimately defer to Francis with a 15. And Dina sort of says, "I'll be here." And Francis is like, "Come, just this way."
Thank you so much.
Sort of like in the friendly way is like pushing you forward, like a very light hand on the back just to get you going in the right direction. The rest of you, well, specifically Aesop and Flint, you see them start to walk deeper in, deeper towards the penitentiary. Not, they're not going inside, but it's this sort of tracks with what you know so far about where the flower might be located from Mouse's directions earlier. But you just sort of see them perhaps escaping your line of sight. If would you like to do anything about that?
I think I'd wait a little bit so it didn't seem like we were leaving at the exact same time, a couple of minutes, and then probably try to follow stealthily or nonchalantly, I guess. See if we can round the corner and get eyes on him again. I'm assuming they're not like going into like a building or a private area. This is just elsewhere.
The question sort of it seems like they're going deeper into town. The question at hand, though, is do you let them leave your line of sight in order to maintain your stealth?
I think so. Like making the assumption we can like catch up, but I think if we just try and wander or start following them immediately as they turn, it's gonna look too obvious.
Okay. Aesop sort of reaches down and sort of pats you on the head to give you bardic inspiration and says, "Let's find him." So this is sort of more of an investigation check. You're maintaining your stealth.
Okay.
But and Aesop will just go ahead and give you the help action. This is an effort to keep their trail. Okay. Not a problem at all. It takes you a few minutes to sort of they sort of turn into an alleyway is when you lose eyesight on them, and it takes you a few minutes to kind of get the right angle to kind of pursue them, and we'll get to it in a moment, but it's sort of like from this vantage point, this sort of corner where you can now see them again, that you see them approaching a building. But as that walk is happening, Francis is sort of leading the two of you forward. After, I would say about 3, 4, 5 minutes, the point where you, Drada, believe that you're comfortably out of earshot of the people back at the corner, Francis says, "All right, you good?" This is a walk and talk conversation. He says, "You good? You got what you need, money wise?"
I think I'm as good as I will be.
So, I will make the introduction. You try to give an aura of familiarity with the product as best as you can.
Any advice on like decorum, how I should act, how I should
You,
vibe check. I don't know.
he sort of pauses for a moment. Like when you guys duck into this alleyway, Flint and Aesop don't see this pause, but he sort of stops you as soon as you're sort of in a side street, and he says, Eula didn't prepare you at all.
Hmm?
He says Eula didn't prepare you at all.
Got some. We had some help. We have some tips, but
We can't linger, but what do you know? I'll give you the quick version.
give me a quick version because I'm going to need to pull up my notes.
I would say you share that some of what Aesop had researched, which is sort of like,
Oh yeah, it's a blue flower. It's used in elven rituals. It's really important to certain elvish peoples. However, it can also be used as a byproduct to make a certain drug. Called, certain drug, and is very valuable because of that.
He sort of says, well, you know a lot more than I thought, but in fact, you know some stuff I don't know about, frankly, but what you need to know going in is how to handle it. This is it.
So it's the tea, and you should smell it. You shouldn't drink it.
No, you're getting a flower. The tea is not part of this trade. You're going in, you're exchanging a flower. They will give you assuming everything goes well, they will give you a sort of glass covered vase that keeps it humid, and you need to be very careful with that. You need to not drop it, not open it. You need to trust that what you want is inside, because you won't be able to see it, and you need to not ask questions when that happens. You're taking this fragile thing and haggling for it as any trustworthy person does, because nobody comes in and pays full price for something like this. And when the exchange is made, you go your separate ways, and you handle the package with care. Because if you're tossing that thing around, you're going to be looking a little too familiar.
To know.
Don't worry, I'm very good with flowers.
I can confirm this.
Which one of you has the coin? Looks towards Flint and says, all right, I'll hand it to her then, so that your hands are free. Pointing towards Mouse. All right, last second for questions, but we gotta go.
Mouse, you got anything you want to ask?
Jada, do you want to hold my coin sack just in case things go poorly and you have to pay more?
I love it.
All right. This was like a 2-minute pause as the corner, as they turn the corner, but he sort of like picks up the pace for a block in an effort to make up like 20 seconds. You get the impression that he's keeping a mental note about how long he's been away, so that the people back at camp, for lack of a better word, don't suspect him of being gone for too long. It's at this point where those of you on Team Stealth are sort of like turning you miss all of that, but you turn the corner and are able to spot them approaching a building that is sort of a decrepit single-story house. Kind of reminds you a little bit of Jerome's house in Mistral. This is the windows are boarded up. The roof is not well kept. And you sort of see, well, you guys are too far away to see the details, but those of you who are zooming back into the party who's up close, you all see him pull out a key and insert it into the door and open it. And as you guys are led in, you sort of see a pretty bare living room that is a little beat up and rough around the edges, but is a totally habitable space for all intents and purposes. You all shuffle in, and he closes the door behind you. And then, sort of in a hushed whisper, he says to Drada primarily, he says, "Ready?"
Sure am.
Nods, and then you see there's sort of a couch on a rug, and he pushes the couch off of the rug and moves the rug over, and then he stomps his foot kind of lightly on the wooden floorboards below it, kind of in a rhythmic pattern. And after about 5 seconds or so, you hear a series of knocking sounds from below, almost a call and response of sorts. And when he hears those sounds, he sort of nods to you and sort of kneels down and starts to, under the couch, you see there was like a crowbar, and he starts to take out a couple of the floorboards to reveal a ladder that goes down. After a few minutes, feel free to interrupt me if there's anything you need. After a few minutes, kind of roughly removing a few boards, not to the degree of breaking them, but you look down and see, with your dark vision in particular, Mouse, you can't really see too much down there right now, but there's sort of like a stone landing underneath, a ladder that goes down maybe like 10 feet into a sort of basement that seems to have been covered up, perhaps. And he takes the first steps down, and then sort of like beckons you to follow.
I think, the further we get underground and kind of into it, John is very nervous, but this enclosed dark space is somewhere where he might actually end up be feeling a little bit more comfortable. So take steps forward, not with confidence, but not shaking.
Okay. This sort of stone landing is not a big room. It's like maybe 10 feet by 10 feet, and there's a wooden, kind of like a rough wooden door, just simple planks. It's more of a divider than anything, that leads into the next room. And he says, "Athena, here for a flower." And you hear a woman's voice come through that has like an air of authority behind it, and she just sort of says, "Time's ticking, come in." He gives one last nod to you, and then opens the door, and he enters first, sort of having you guys trail behind him. You step into... Oh, go ahead. Did you have something, Mouse?
No, sorry.
Okay, all good. Stepping in, You see this room is sort of in contrast to all the others. Seems like a well put together office almost. There's a pretty like richly appointed desk. There are two sort of dark green stone statues that flank the desk on sort of corners. There's some sort of like lantern that you walk past as you're entering the room that doesn't generate heat but has the look of light about it that's casting into the room. In this room, there's one other door, which seems... Go and roll me... Both of you roll me a perception check. Okay. I will say, just for your awareness, the Bardic Inspiration is worn off by now, because it only lasts 10 minutes. Your disguises and stuff are fine. Drada, I don't think you notice it, but Mouse, there's sort of like a mist emanating from beneath the door frame into this next room. It kind of has like an acrid smell to it. But within the room that you're currently in, Francis sort of says, "My friend Edward here is in the market. Somebody who I've worked with in the past and is good for it. So, Edward, this is Athena. Athena, Edward." And you look across the desk and see a woman with dark hair who is wearing... sort of has like olive colored skin and is wearing these sort of like forest green robes and like sort of like leather or studded leather armor underneath it. And she sort of looks and says, still sort of in a sitting position, sort of looks and says, "Well, Edward, always happy to meet a paying customer."
A pleasure to meet you, I may say.
"And your companion?"
This is... introduce yourself.
I'm Weasel.
Weasel.
Nice to meet you.
Edward and Weasel.
I must say, it's a beautiful office space. I was not expecting... climbing down the ladder, I wasn't expecting to see such comfortable trappings.
Well, you know, it's good to do business in a place that doesn't have such the air as it is up there.
I can understand that. But yeah, I appreciate if you happen to have a flower for sale, I'd be real interested in it. And appreciate you being interested in doing business.
And just what purpose do you have of this flower?
A friend of mine comes from an elven community and is looking to use it for some ritualistic purposes.
She kind of raises an eyebrow, and you're not sure what that means. This friend of yours, do they have a name?
Bethany?
I'm sorry, you as a player cut out. Say that again.
Bethany.
That doesn't sound very elven.
I know she's not... It's part of her culture she's trying to reconnect with. We grew up together. I owed her a favor, so here I am.
And where do you come from? You said you've been in town for how long?
I've been in town for a minute. I'm originally from just south of Flamebridge.
It's a long way to come to get a flower. There are places you could go that are a little closer.
There are, but was visiting some friends in town, so figure get 2 flowers with 1 visit, as they don't say.
So you want 2 flowers.
No, I was wordplay failed. Is the long and short of it. But
She
1 flower
holds a hand up.
Great, cool.
What's your price?
I was wondering if you might be interested in, say, $4.75.
You tell me what sort of role you're going to make here, because it's not, it's like it could be deception in sort of like playing your character. It could be performance in playing your character. It could be persuasion in playing your character. What is the spin that Drada is putting on this performance or on this attempt?
Great question. I don't think it's deception in that, yeah, there's this character that's being played, but I don't think it's like not trying to scam this person. It feels like a performance to Drada, I would say.
Okay, and I know that you have -1 in all of these. So
Oh, I sure do. Yes, I sure do.
You do have,
Yes, I do.
yeah, you do have advantage, and Mouse can give you the little boost.
So, performance check.
Sure.
Plus a
Mhm.
d6.
Well, with
So
advantage, so roll again first. Okay.
There we go. Okay. And then plus a d6.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And just to remind myself, as a DM, you said 450.
475.
475.
Yeah.
Okay. She lets out a hearty laugh, and sort of turns to Francis and says, "When I said it was good to have paying customers, I was still expecting them to have a little bit more money than that."
Well, what did you have in mind, may I ask?
She sort of eyes you up and down.
And I think I subtly move my arms around to not fully reveal that I'm carrying 2 large bags of change, but to reveal that, oh, I have money on me. We're dancing the dance right now.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, she does not have like the best stats either. Okay. This is functionally her inciting you in a way. She says, 475 is below the price that I would sell to a friend. But for 700.
Okay, hearing you. Yeah, we just met. I'd be real excited if this goes well to continue a friendship in future, but understand.
You think you might be coming through town more regularly in the future?
Who's to say? 700. I hear ya. How about 595?
You cut out again, sorry.
595. You're a friend to be. but not yet a friend.
Give me another roll.
I'll wheel for my last time.
This feels more persuasion, so we'll go persuasion.
Hey.
Not
add the
gonna
D.
roll again.
Just add the D. Add the D6 just cause. Okay. And you said 575. Is that what I heard?
I think 595.
595. Okay, sorry.
No, the correct answer was yes, 575.
No, we're being honest. The viewers out there would come for me.
Yeah, all half of the Twitch viewers.
I'm about to be crucified for inaccuracy by your father.
Yeah. When Art watches the VOD to catch up, he'll be like, "You owe the DM 20 gold."
Scammed.
She said 595, and she sort of says, sorry, you said 595. She says, 625. That's the lowest I'll go.
And I think Drada really, scratches the non-existent hairs on his chin, really probably milking it, honestly. But after a while looks at Mouse and just shrugs, maybe sighs a little bit, and then goes, well, I think you have a deal.
She's still sort of in a sitting position at the moment at her desk, and she nods once at you, looks over at Francis. You see Francis nods. She looks at Mouse.
I nod and smile and prepare to take a flower.
I take out a bag of coins. And go, whom and how should I be distributing this chunk of change?
Yeah, she's before you even say that, she says, Francis, count it up, I'll be back. And she will, you see, she reaches into the desk and pulls out a familiar green mask and puts it on her face before walking into before opening the door, and you see like mist pouring out of the room, and you are not in front of the door as she opens it, but there is sort of a like the smell. You imagine that if you were in front of the door when it opened, that I, as a DM, would be making you roll a save of some kind, like which I give you like narrative flair to imagine what that means. It's sort of like, as this is even just on the edge of your lungs, you're like, damn, there's something funky in there. And as the mist pours out of the room and she kind of goes in with the mask attached to her head, seeming to be able to enter the room with relative comfort, closes the door behind her, and you lose sight of her for a few minutes. You see Francis, as you're sort of pulling out coins, he sort of has a finger to his lips, sort of indicating that, like, you shouldn't, this is not the time for talking. This is the time for counting. As you're sort of just pulling out coins, I'll let you decide later if it's like mostly gold or platinum, but is there anything you do in this short period of time?
I think I am. The Jade Mask has my interest. I think I might be coughing a little. I'm trying not to cough, given there is a foul smell in the air. Like, where in the room are we exchanging coins, like over her desk?
Yeah, Francis is sort of like he's
Okay,
not
I'm
Francis is
giving
not
her
sitting in
desk.
her chair, but he is sort of on one side of the desk counting coins with you.
As coins are being counted, I am looking over her desk, looking at shelves to see if there's anything. I'm just trying to see like who is this person? What can I glean?
You roll
Whenever like Francis is maybe occupied, I'm not trying to like make an obvious show of it. But
yeah. I mean, Francis is doing the counting because you imagine he's accountable to the coin value. So you sort of like drop a stack of coins on the table, and as he's sort of picking up one coin at a time, making sure it's platinum and not silver, you sort of like give the room a 360. Roll me a perception check. No, I would say with an 11, the only thing I'm going to give you, which is just like a very light connection, is that the two statues that I mentioned them being like a dark green stone, and you recognize them to be jade of the similar kind as the one Jade Mask member who summoned the sort of hound that that you had fought on the streets of Mistral. So you would give you some indication that this place has defenses in place. But unfortunately, you're not able, with an 11, in the time that you have before she comes back, you're not able to really pick out any details before you need to give her your full attention again. Go ahead.
Well, just so that I can plan. In the hall that we walked through, because we like took the ladder, was there space between the ladder and where we would be in view of other people where I could cast locate plants, or am I gonna have to wait till I'm outside to do that inconspicuously?
Like inside of the house.
Yeah.
I mean, it. You know, if you went up the ladder, you're just sort of like in a living room, or at the stone landing, the stone landing area. You can be inconspicuous in many of these spaces. I would say you just have to make the time for it.
Perfect.
Kind of like as he's starting to wrap up the last of the coins, there's sort of the effort of somebody who's trying to open a door while their hands are full. You see that you see kind of like a foot kicking backwards into a door, and she's sort of walking backwards into the room as she's pushing the door open. The mist falls in again, and you see somebody who's holding. You see a familiar figure, mask and all, holding a ceramic pot that is probably has the. I don't know if it's because I'm hungry, but I have pizza on the mind. It has the diameter of like a 12-inch pizza. But atop it, there is a kind of glass half sphere, and that beyond you just see like swirling mists of this sort of reminiscent of the smoke that is inside that room. You know, just at the cursory glance, it aligns with what Francis told you. You do not see a flower within. It appears that she's serving you a vase with smoke. But she kicks open the door and it sort of swings back inward, and seeing you sort of putting the final coins down, she says, "It's all yours," and sort of like looks towards Mouse to hand it off.
I will carefully take it. I hadn't considered that we were going to carry it out.
But After the smoke sort of clears the room a little bit, she removes her mask once again and sort of looks to Francis and says, everything good? And Francis nods and says 625. Sort of he's been shoveling it all into like a pouch this whole time. It's been counted on the table and then sort of shoved into a pouch, and he sort of zips the pouch up and tosses it to her. And she sort of like tosses it in the air, kind of assessing its weight, whether you did platinum or gold. She seems to trust the weight to Francis's word and says, well, should you wish to be a return customer, we'll see about knocking a few coins off of that next time.
I greatly appreciate it. It's been a pleasure.
She sort of nods and says, Francis, help them get that out of here if you don't mind, and close up shop. And he sort of nods and gestures you upstairs. He will help with the whole not having 4-foot tall mouse carry it up a 10-foot ladder situation. He helps to make sure it gets upstairs, but then before handing it back off to you. And as he hands it back off to you, he sort of holds up a hand for you to wait, and goes through the motions of putting the floorboards back in.
While he's doing that, I don't think he would be offended by my confirmation. I will cast Locate Plants and confirm that this is the...
Yeah, you get a ping of a flower that is within 5 inches of your hand.
Lovely.
He puts the floorboards down. He moves the rug back over, scoots the couch in, and then just sort of nods at you and sort of like waves you towards him as he goes back to the front door. After leading you out, he takes the key back out, locks it back up, and starts walking down towards the alley. Those of you who are in eyesight of the alley clock the trio, who I would say from the distance you can't really tell that they're carrying anything, but it is sort of like familiar shapes on the horizon. And as he is a few minutes away from the house, he says, all right, I think that's that.
I think it is. Thank you so much.
You know, you're a lot better at this than your other friend, so just
And that's a surprise to us both.
I mean, we're clearly the faces of the party.
I mean, come on.
I'm just saying. I mean,
I should have been the Tournament of Tales star. Drado mutters to himself.
Well,
but
you didn't see me.
Yeah.
You don't know me. You do your business with our mutual friend, and if she asks, you can tell her that the gift was well received.
Do.
That's, to be clear, a code. You should tell her that.
Yep. Got it.
Right. Well,
Cool.
do me a favor. Go that way. I'm going this way. He sort of
All right. Who are you? And then I turn and walk away.
he's like, you with your passive perception, you hear the sound of a mild facepalm. But he returns the way he came and sort of indicated that you take another side street.
We do so.
I'll try and kind of flag them down slightly, or do something to catch their eye, so they can.
They as in the party or Francis?
Drata and Mouse.
Okay, they're going in a different. Like you would have to. You're going to need to intercept them on a different road.
Fair.
Because
we'll do something to fairly quickly try to catch up with them.
Okay. For the purpose of simplicity, you are all able to rendezvous. Where are you? Well, I would say probably the rendezvous point would have been where Clax is my guess. Because Clax is sort of like holding down a particular intersection that's at the center of it all. So,
do you guys want to put that in the bag of holding so we're not just like carrying around a very odd-shaped, large glass sphere thing?
Is the bag of holding like stable? I wouldn't want the like upside down vase bit to get knocked over.
That's fair. Do I feel confident in my knowledge of however the bag of holding works that it doesn't just jostle things around and whatever?
Roll me an intelligence check.
Alright. Not a save. There we go.
It's a maybe. The other maybe that you're not sure about is like, can this presumably delicate environment plant live within the environment of the bag of holding if it does jostle around in the slightest? It seems a little risky.
Fair enough. All right, we'll just carry it for now.
And it's not like an unstable thing. As long as you're holding it, it's not gonna and you don't trip, you're fine.
So since we all met up with me and everything, I'm gonna get out the inkwell and the feather and ask Aesop for a piece of paper. And
he pulls. I'd say he probably just pulls out his notebook and lays it flat on a bench nearby.
And then just write have goods when where, because I know I'm getting low on ink, so trying to.
Yeah. I'll say. I don't know if I narrated it to like I kind of sped through the narration of this magic ink before. You insert the pen into the inkwell, and it doesn't initially glow. You get the idea behind it is sort of like the way it worked initially is that she was probably waiting for your call, but you get the impression you need to leave it in there until it starts to glow, which sort of indicates that she's ready to receive. But as you're sort of puzzling over this, it takes like 10-15 seconds before the ink starts to glow, and you pull the pen out and feel like you have control over its resistance.
So have goods when where.
You release the pen as it sort of lingers and floats in the air, and by now you know to like reposition the journal just to make sure. And she writes she writes a single word now ? Free ?
Not sure I get the free. What do you guys think? Obviously I would prefer to offload this as quickly as possible.
I mean, she's got somewhere we can meet.
So
Drata, who is clearly starting to breathe very heavily after the stress of this starts to wear off and the reality of what he just did steps in, is like, yeah, that'd be great. Love that. Great. Love that.
Just rapier question mark.
The response is no, period. Follow the teal cloak at precinct gates.
So we head for the precinct gates.
Let's do it. Let's go. Yeah.
What is this person's name? We've said it a bunch of times, and I keep failing to write it down.
Elua. Aelua. I think is how I spelled it, but either way, close enough. A-Lua.
Or Eula, if you can't remember how to pronounce it.
Yeah.
For the sake of closure on this magic item, you say like, got it. You write down like an affirmation, and you see like the last bit of ink dry up on the page, and the inkwell is empty.
Still gonna put that back in my pack. So that's a really handy thing to have. So, all right, let's head to the precinct. And yeah, all right, I can answer that myself.
Head on over.
Okay. Roll me, as you're sort of heading for the gates, roll me, whoever's taking the lead, which could be two of you or one of you with the help, following the directions. Roll me a perception check.
Anybody want it?
I think Drada's antsy and can lead. Can roll a perception, sure.
I can help you.
Let's say, I'm not terrible at these, but I'm pretty sure Drada and Mouse are better.
Am I rolling, or do you want advantage?
I'll happily take advantage. Cool. 20's still fine. Yeah.
Following the description that you have, trying to find a teal cloak with a 20, not as easy to find as you like, and Drada, sort of being the stealth guru of the party, you can tell when somebody's revealing themselves to you. You see sort of, it's almost like your eyes passed over the shape and color you're looking for before something brought your attention back to it. Like kind of a glint of metal or some kind. You see just from a distance that there is a kind of like slender woman who is covered in this sort of green cloak, and a lot of her features are hidden from it. You sort of just see like a pointed chin that is sort of peeking out from under the cloak at this distance. And there's sort of like a nod of recognition before she starts walking towards the Southern Heights.
How we stroll.
And the impression that I would say the impression you get is that you're supposed to follow, but not engage at the moment.
Of that, I think Drada will preemptively, just to be safe, if we're all walking together, cast Pass Without Trace.
Okay. So generally, I don't want to set this as a precedent, but generally Pass Without Trace is for stealth rolls. But this seems more like of a being nonchalant. So I'm going to ask people to make a kind of group. Well, I guess I should tell you before I say what I was thinking. You tell me, how are you following? Like, is it designed to be nonchalant, or are you ducking between alleyways?
I mean, I was picturing it more, yeah, it is a much more nonchalant, it is much more just we're a group amiably strolling through town with some distance between us and the person we're following. The main goal just being like, I don't want people to look and notice we're carrying a large porcelain vessel.
Okay. This is sort of a hiding in plain sight situation. So let's treat this as a group performance check, but we will give it the +10 of pass without a trace. Well, pass without a trace helps a lot, guys.
I was just
True.
gonna say, I did not expect to see Clax at the top of that. Well, Asa beat me, but he had a +8.
Sometimes I make people make rolls just to see what would happen if 2 people rolled a natural 1. This roll, I think it was inevitably going to succeed, but it could have been an incident if somebody dropped the ball. But you all follow. Is there anything sort of as you're hiding in plain sight? Anything that you're doing as you like walk and talk?
So how'd it go?
It went. I'm okay with the price we got it for. I think I did fine. I'm really not sure.
You did great. We got what we came for. We seemed successful. Flint, did you know that the jade mask protected against gas?
Yeah,
What?
the person who we did this whole deal with fully likes to wear a certain colored mask on the face at certain moments.
Okay, that's unexpected. I thought they were only in Flamebridge. Huh.
A certain face covering will be even bigger.
I mean, trying to decide what I think that means. So, this Elula person just was doing this as a trial. It doesn't necessarily mean that these people are directly linked to Lady Vaughn. But that's still really weird.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it wasn't just face covering. Similar to a certain rock dog that we may have encountered in past, there seemed to be some precautions in the room in case things went south. In ways that we have sure encountered before.
Yeah, perhaps the Jade Mask has further reach than I expected. Huh. Yeah, that's something to think over.
The office honestly was like really nice. Like she has taste and like can decorate a room, make it feel cozy even when, doing things that are totally legal and normal.
I mean, I'm unclear how illegal they are. They're a registered guild. I don't understand how that's true, but yeah, there's something more going on there.
I think I gave you this detail. They were not registered as a thieves guild. They were registered as like a mercantile guild or something. I can pull it up, but
I'd written it down. I think you said mercantile. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't steal anything there. They just were growing plants and selling them. So, All right.
Flint, I'll give you a history roll, just as you sort of like mind palace this a little bit.
I'm gonna use my flash
Yeah, of
genius.
course, do it.
Like, give myself a +4.
Oh, that's right. It's not even a die. It's just a straight +4.
Just my intelligence modifier.
Okay. The little bit of like insight I'll give you that is not concrete, but is another possibility, is that they're smugglers in town. It's not, the nature of it is not necessarily that they've set up shop here, or perhaps they've set up shop here, but that doesn't mean that they have a grand operation within Consonance.
They could be selling lots of things that they have smuggled in or smuggle out.
Yeah.
Not.
Or somebody like Drada who just went in to purchase this could have been the person that it was being smuggled to. Like, clearly not in this case, because Drada posed as a sort of as a buyer, a miscellaneous buyer. But when you think about the Jade Mask, you're like, all right, well, this, for them to restrict their business to Flamebridge would probably be limiting when you think about it, given the sort of stuff they deal with. You guys follow leading into the Southern Heights, and as the sort of more downtown city area opens up, it's still sort of the suburban crawl of this particular neighborhood. You all see Alua, who only you feel like you can only see her because Drada has pointed it out, and perhaps because she's pointed herself out to Drada. There's an aura or an air about the way that she walks that you imagine nobody knows that she's there, and you don't know if that's like confidence, like somebody who walks in plain sight all the time, or if there's something more like arcane about it. But go ahead.
It seems different than what Drada normally does with.
Yeah, it's not some Gloomstalker stuff, and the sun is still up.
I meant the +10 to stealth, whatever that is.
No, it's not nothing like that.
Okay.
This seems. I guess it's hard to diagnose, but I would say it could be something like that, or it could be something similar, but adjacent to it. There is a kind of like a large storage shed, probably like a 15 foot by 15 foot structure that seems to be like in the backyard of a neighborhood that she walks down. In this particular moment, you all feel a little exposed because this is when I'll probably have people transition into rolling a stealth check, because this is no longer hiding in plain sight. This is like walking down the alleyway in somebody's neighborhood with a group of people when it's a relatively quiet time. So if everybody could roll group stealth, you still have pass without trace.
Regretfully, I believe I have disadvantage.
For heavy armor, technically, yes.
Yeah.
I'd say that for Flint as well.
Yep. Damn it! It got worse than a 3 or a 5.
Where did I go?
If you mouse over your 21, you can hit the minus button as well.
Yeah, no, I just had to find it in the
Okay.
chat. Wow.
Okay. Thankfully, Aesop's, like if we're doing skill challenges, Aesop's natural 20 counterbalances Flint's natural 1.
My rolls have been terrible.
There's like a few sort of like neighborly folks who you seem to be like keeping an eye out on, sort of their own property, but it's sort of there's a moment where Flint is about to like step in a little hole or something, and Aesop sort of like tugs you back so that you don't fall face forward. And you see Alua sort of again, just sort of like the silhouette of her chin as she turns to face forward towards you. She opens the door, and this is like 30 feet in front of you at this point. Opens the door, acknowledges you, steps in, and then the door swings closed behind her.
Shall we?
Might as well. Following after.
Okay. You have pretty relatively good confidence that that you have been stealthy in this approach, and as you open the door, you see a room that has sort of an open center and a variety of like boxes, kind of like wooden crates packed along the sides, stacked tall enough to cover these sort of like thin garage windows that would normally be there more to like let air in and out and create circulation. But it's sort of quite dark in here as you all step into this room, and it swings behind you. You see the figure sort of turn towards you all and pulls her hood back, and you see kind of like long gray hair. I'm just going to show.
As we're about to walk in that door, can I go ahead and just cast Detect Magic?
Sure.
Before we walk inside.
Sure. Go and roll me a perception check because you're sort of just taking the room in. She does, not that you need it for your dark vision, but she does sort of create some magical light within the room.
I am looking notably at her cloak, I think, but also, yeah, looking around the room.
Okay. With a natural 20, both her cloak, her boots, and a ring on her hand are glowing in a very kind of like very in tune way. These are items that they seem to serve similar purposes. The cloak and the boots. The ring has. It's always hard for me as a DM to diagnose like what spell school some magic items are, but say that the ring has a sort of like abjuration nature to it. In fact, I think all three of them probably have a bit of an abjuration nature to them. You also see kind of like a faint glow from the flower that Mouse is Mouse still carrying it, or did somebody take it by now?
I think Mouse is being a bit protective of it because she knows it's a flower.
Okay. You see a slight glow coming from it, a glow that is familiar to you. It glows kind of like the dawn silk glowed. It's like an item that's ready for magic. It's like,
oh, the flower?
Yeah, the flower. It's not a magic that holds magic, but it's sort of like it's primed to receive magic. She pulls her cloak back and says, "Well,
Mouse?"
I raise it up.
You guys mentioned that there was smoke in the room that you thought might be poisonous, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure that I got the sense that the mask was what was protecting her. I don't think we want to like inhale the smoke.
It is nothing to be concerned of. It's just they were recreating the natural habitat, but
Yeah. I guess my point was be cautious when you open it. Perhaps
I'm
don't.
very familiar with
Okay.
this.
Wasn't sure if that was something about the plant or just some defense mechanism they had in particular.
She says, and how did it go?
Quite successfully, I think.
We have. It went fine, at least to me.
A little expensive. Hope it's worth it.
She looks like she's waiting for something.
Yeah,
Oh,
Lax
right.
wasn't there, so he can't say
Ah,
anything.
Yes. Hey, Mass, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just saying, oh, right. The gift was well received.
The gift was well received.
She kind of has a sigh of relief and says, "Good."
That went about as well as the other code words, so.
Well, all that matters is that everybody is safe and everybody's cover is intact, and well, I am appreciative. Her demeanor lightens a little bit. There's been a little bit of like an air of seriousness or mystery as you sort of enter the room and are meeting her for the first time. But she sort of like gives a soft smile and says, "Clax did say that you were both trustworthy and effective allies, and I appreciate you taking the risk for our little cause."
Yep, absolutely.
So, what's next?
Well, I did suggest to you, I don't know what you've shared with everyone. Is it fair to say that all cards are on the table with everybody here?
Yes. Anything you can say to me, you can say to them.
Very well. Well, catching you up just in case, but while this was a sort of trial of sorts, it does serve the mission. This flower you hold here, I can make dream mist from it. And this location, I believe, will reveal visions that will help us chase the lead.
This location, like right where we're at?
Yes.
Hmm.
It is in my interest because she sort of indicates to the flower, because these things are rare and traceable, it is in my interest to use it as soon as possible. By using it to create Dream Mist and sort of expending it as a resource, no one will be the wiser as to what happened or where it is.
So we're all going to do drugs?
You are welcome to join in the vision if you would like. It may serve us well to have extra eyes on what we witness, or one person can only contain so much information.
Definitely not how I thought my day would go, but then again, since I met you guys at the Heroes Academy, I can't say any day's gone the way I expected it to, so.
Is there anything we should be prepared for?
We need
I don't
to
know how
like
much.
hydrate beforehand.
As I prepare it and give you instruction on how to partake, just please follow my instruction and you will be safe. It is not inherently a harmful substance. It is harmful when it is not used appropriately. That said, while I feel our entrance here was relatively safe, the process will incapacitate us, anybody who goes into the vision, for up to an hour, depending on what we see. So should anybody feel uncomfortable, it may behoove you to take watch.
Well, for as much as this costs us, I really am curious about it. But I think our safety overall is better. I'll take watch.
That's okay. You put a lot. I'm not the biggest fan of not having control of my body. So if you want to have a time, I'm more than happy to take watch.
Respectfully, Clax, I will not force you to do this if you don't want to, but I have reason to believe that your eyes are particularly valuable for this mission.
Understood. Good.
I mean, similar sentiments there. I won't force you into this Drata, but I do feel like you probably have the keenest eyes out of all of us, or very close to, which granted does make you good at watch, but also might be really useful in this dream thing.
That's fair and kind. Yeah.
Does somebody want to take watch, or are we going to risk it?
I can take watch.
I personally feel like I was not tracked here. I have confidence if we all went in together, but I simply voiced it as a for your awareness of what you're getting into.
I think we'd be fine. We were pretty stealthy getting in here.
And honestly, if anybody in this group, Mouse, I feel this is kind of your wheelhouse. All the mushrooms and all the crazy stuff you pick up and living with flowers, speaking to plants. Like, I feel this is it.
I mean, I certainly don't want to keep watch. I was just offering to help.
I think we all do it.
Let's go. Ace up.
If you think that's best. Alois says, I'll need a bit of time to prepare, a half hour or so. Do you have any questions for me in the meantime? I can work and talk.
How
at the
long
same
is this
time.
going to last?
The effect?
Yes.
No more than an hour, but it varies depending on what we see. You can pull out at any time. You simply have to imagine yourself back in this room without the vision.
What exactly are you hoping to see? Is there anything you could give us ahead of time?
I have reason to believe that this is where unwritten details of the operation were agreed upon in the time that I spent tracing her. There were meetings that took place with her and several individual associates, of which whom I could not place without exposing myself. but there was one particular time where they all met, and I should very much like to be a fly on the wall to hear what they said. After this moment, she is the only one who stayed in town. They all dispersed, and I believe them to all be lieutenants or some sort of individual that she has connections with.
Perhaps this is a stupid question, but just to confirm, when we're having this vision, it's not like they'll be able to see us, correct?
It's a vision of the past. We historically, although this practice is no longer common, we would witness past generations of ancestors at temples where certain histories were recorded and where certain traditions were monitored and performed. And we would use this to connect with our past selves in that way. They do not know that their future selves are watching, but they know that their future selves will be watching. This is more of an elven practice, though. This is not something that I would expect her to respect. It's very likely that she doesn't know or disregards the traditions in a way that she wouldn't take this seriously or perceive it as a threat, frankly. During this, I will say, like, she's having this conversation with you. At some point, she is sort of like pulled out. She's pulled out a pestle, a sort of semi-large pestle and mortar that she has sort of thrown a variety of like herbs and poultices into, things that you're not very familiar with. Some of it that is like foreign looking. You don't necessarily. I would say, like, if anybody wants to roll, it would be Mouse, but even then, I don't think you're necessarily well traveled enough to identify foreign flowers. So you can roll herbalism if you'd like to, but as she's sort of doing this, in between sort of receiving your questions and answering them, you also see that she takes sort of like an etching tool, and she is etching patterns into the inside of the mortar and pestle, kind of like arcane runes or glyphs. And you start to see like the powder. It's not quite a powder yet. What she's creating is sort of somewhat of a mash. But as she's carving these runes into it, into the mortar and pestle with the mash inside, you see that it starts to dry the contents of it, of the mortar and pestle, and it starts to turn into a more powderized form. And she then, sort of after having that base prepared, she carefully lifts the glass off of the vase, pulling it far enough away from you guys that there is no real concern. There's not so much smog in this one vase that it could poison a room, but she lifts it off, and you see as it sort of drifts, the mists start to drift away. There is like a single stem that branches off into 3 flowers that sort of are striped with white and blue petals, and she sort of takes those petals off, takes them all off, and then puts them into the mortar and pestle and starts grinding again. And in closely inspecting, I would say is the most you can get out of it, Mouse. But it seems that while you're not totally familiar with what she's doing, or what these herbs are in the time that you have to sort of assess them, it seems that they're sort of creating a homogeneous, almost sugar-looking powder within the mortar and pestle, as they also seem to be drying up rather quickly and mixing with the rest of it. She's doing all this while answering your questions, so if you have more questions, please continue.
How do you know all this?
I've been following her for some time.
Well, let me rephrase it. How do you know about all this ritual and how to put it all together?
Well, it's
I know part of your heritage and so forth, but it doesn't seem like this is a ritual that's been well known or well done for a while.
she sort of pauses for a second before realizing she has to continue and says, "How old do you think I am?"
Well,
It's I won't be insulted.
I honestly don't have a clue. I honestly can't recall seeing gray-haired elves, but I also don't know if that's just what can happen. And I know you guys can live to be quite old, but I don't know what that is in relation to me. So, no clue.
Let's say I have a couple 100 years on you and start from there. But knowing that, it would be no surprise to you to know that my mother, who, of course, has a couple 100 years on me, lived before the rise.
Wow.
This land that we all now call Ventus, this beacon of civilization that floats above the clouds, it wasn't always that way. There used to be, according to her, in the place of clouds, it was endless water. The ships that we fly through the clouds used to float on the water and travel great distances that way. And there were islands larger than this and very far away. This knowledge that I hold is just a piece of the history of my people. This is almost a triviality from the millennia of knowledge that we've perhaps lost. This is the bastion that I hold on to tightly in the hopes that perhaps we can rediscover some of that again.
What happened?
Well, from as far as I know, the island was transported from one plane of existence to another. My people, at least those of us who inhabited this island, came along with it. This is something, and she sort of looks to Clax and says, something that we believe happened to your people as well. When Ildre rose from the clouds, but 400 years ago. This was after the rise. Who knows where your people came from or what plane they existed on? Or if the people on this island are the only dragonborn out there.
I have a feeling.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I have a feeling there's so many more questions we want to ask you by the time we're done with all this.
The sad reality is that what I know is a few morsels of many more lost stories or lost knowledge, lost histories that I don't know that I can that I'll have many answers for you, but I do wish to secure the means to make sure that my people don't forget who we are again.
Sorry, it was player question, I guess. Is Ildre the name of that like whole island that the city Ildre is on, or
I don't know that the Flint would know the answer to that question.
okay?
I would say Clax. Well, does Flint say that out loud? Like,
I guess so. I guess maybe my question is just: are you implying that, or are you saying that Ildre or this island showed up after the main island of Ventus, and that's where all the Dragonborn originated from that we know today?
that is true. That is how many races have come to Ventus. She sort of looks towards Mouse and says, I have seen some of your people, not many, but I expect you have an island of your own.
Yeah. We have an island.
And she looks at Drada and says, the Air Genasi were the first we met when we rose above the clouds. There were islands here already. And although we have since created the royal we, as Ventus has created a sort of unified land. The Genasi were the ones to take most of the power at first. And then that's when the elven traditions started dying as we started having to surrender to some of the belief systems that existed here before we were here. It's all complicated, and frankly, I don't know half of it because I wasn't around then. But it is my belief that first came the Genasi, and then came the elves. And then, as you've met Dragonborn, halflings, gnomes, orcs, that they migrated from somewhere, be it a minor island that perhaps collided or merged with the larger landscape, or in pointing towards Clax, or in Clax's case was connected through great bridges. But this seems to be sometimes it almost feels like a garden.
Do you know much about when the Minotaurs showed up?
She kind of looks at Aesop and frankly, no. But I would be curious to learn.
Why aren't these things passed down? Why wouldn't prior generations have told us that that's what has happened?
she kind of sighs and says, I think that a single culture is better at maintaining their traditions when there are not outside influences seeking to prioritize themselves. As the elves came, as I understand it, in an effort to be warmly welcomed by those who lived on this land, certain concessions were made, and certain figures took advantage of that. And we have a situation back home now where very few of our original structures are still in place because we've started to create towers and stone towers or wooden houses that people find comfortable, and people marry, or she sort of like swallows a little bit and says, when the humans came, well, half-elves became a more difficult thing to contend with. Although I don't fault people for love, it did seem that the human populace won over in the culture war. There are very few pure elves left. But, and she sort of looks down at the mixture in front of her and says, I believe this is ready. And she sort of pulls it up to her face, like two hands to bring the mortar and pestle up, and starts to whisper a sort of arcane incantation into it before you start to see the powder glow. During this whole process, she had also sort of had a kettle brewing with a kind of large bowl ready to receive the hot water that this tea will be made in. And as she sort of, as you see this like lightly glowing, now blue powder being sort of lifted out of the mortar and pestle, she looks at you all and says, so we're all going in?
What it sounds like.
I think so.
Very well. And we will end the game there so that Art can, well, because it's after 10, and so that Art can participate in this as well.
Sounds good.
I'm going to give you something to prepare for as part of this ritual. I will tell you the details on Discord.
Okay.
There's a sort of creative exercise as players that I want to put you through as part of this. So we'll get into that next session, which I believe is next Monday.
I have this vision in my head of right after Drada inhales this, looking over like in training day, and just going, I didn't know you got wet.
All right. Thanks for playing.
All right. Awesome.